Welcome, everyone, to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here. If you're a focused learner who loves understanding the hidden forces shaping our world, well, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're unpacking a massive, multi-billion-dollar shift that is quite literally rewiring global technology right under our feet. We're looking at the grand geopolitical chessboard of technology and supply chains. But before we get into the billions of dollars and all those international strategies, I want to pose a really simple question to you. What's the invisible thread connecting it all? Like what makes your phone smart, or a supercomputer incredibly fast? Or to use a real-world example from India's Chandrayaan-3 mission, what allows a lunar lander to independently process complex data and safely touch down on the moon? Okay, let's dive into this. The answer, of course, is the tiny semiconductor chip. It's basically the hidden brain of modern electronics. These little squares of silicon pack in millions, sometimes billions, of microscopic switches called transistors. They process millions of complex commands in literal fractions of a second. Without them, the modern world, and we're talking healthcare, transport, defense, space exploration, it all just stops. To truly grasp this global tech race, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the brains of modern tech. Second, America's multi-billion-dollar push. Third, India's semiconductor mission. And finally, we'll wrap up with the new global supply chain. All right, let's kick things off with part one, the brains of modern tech, demystifying the microchip. Now, before we can zoom way out to the macroeconomic scale of global policy, we really need to establish a foundational understanding of what it actually takes to build one of these things. Honestly, making a semiconductor is arguably the most complex manufacturing feat in human history. It takes incredibly advanced equipment, highly specialized raw materials, think hyper-pure polysilicon, wafers, chemicals, specialized gases, and some unbelievably complex software just to plan the architecture. You can't exactly just set this up in a standard factory overnight. We can break this highly complex ecosystem down into three distinct sequential steps. First up is design, where the architecture of the chip is mapped out using advanced software. Second is fabrication, or fabs for short. This is where the chip is physically built onto silicon wafers inside pristine clean room environments. And third is ATP. That stands for assembly, testing, and packaging, where that super fragile silicon is protected and prepped to go into your devices. Mastering all three of these steps, that is the ultimate goal of any tech superpower right now. Which brings us to part two, America's multi-billion-dollar push, the CHIPS and Science Act. So when global supply chains fractured recently, countries kind of had this collective realization that relying on just one or two regions for 90% of their advanced chips was a massive vulnerability. And the United States decided to go big, $280 billion. That staggering figure is the total size of the bipartisan CHIPS and Science Act. It is an immense, historic national security investment meant to fundamentally re-anchor the global technology supply chain right back onto American soil. Let's look at how that actually translates into an actionable strategy. Out of that massive $280 billion, the U.S. Department of Commerce is deploying a targeted $50 billion fund specifically for semiconductor incentives, taking a really comprehensive lab-to-fab approach. So they aren't just building domestic fabs. They're heavily subsidizing manufacturing, boosting R&D through initiatives like the National Semiconductor Technology Center, and really pushing STEM workforce development. And let me tell you, the money is already flowing to the biggest players on Earth. Intel, TSMC, Micron, and Samsung are all receiving multi-billion-dollar grants. Geographically, this is expanding a nationwide map of leading-edge production across Arizona, Texas, Ohio, New York, and beyond. Put together across all these state-of-the-art facilities, these investments are projected to create over 125,000 construction and manufacturing jobs in the U.S. That is massive. All right, let's pivot to part three, India's Semiconductor Mission, building Bharat's tech hub. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing how, while the U.S. is reshoring its legacy, India is simultaneously executing a massive domestic strategy to build its own future from the ground up. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, "When the chips are down, you can bet on India." And that quote signals a really profound shift. India is clearly no longer content being just a massive consumer of electronics. They intend to be a trusted, foundational pillar of the entire global semiconductor manufacturing ecosystem. And the data illustrates exactly why they're so motivated. The domestic Indian semiconductor market was valued around $38 billion in 2023, But by 2030, it's projected to absolutely explode to somewhere between $100 and $110 billion. With that kind of nearly triple-digit growth on the horizon, driven by digital platforms, AI, and smart infrastructure, domestic production isn't just an aspiration for India anymore, it's an absolute economic necessity. To capture that insane growth, the government launched the Comprehensive India Semiconductor Mission, or ISM. We're talking about a total outlay of 76,000 crore rupees. And look at the aggressive incentives here. The government is offering 50% fiscal support to help set up these massive fabrication and ATMP units. They've also rolled out a design-linked incentive, or DLI, to directly fund startups. And, perhaps most critically, they're actively training over 85,000 skilled engineers, so they actually have the human capital to run these high-tech plants. Just take a look at where these heavy investments are physically landing today. The whole ecosystem is rapidly taking shape. From massive fabrication plants in Dholera, Gujarat, to major assembly and test facilities in Morrigan, Assam, all the way to Jawar in Uttar Pradesh. The geography of Indian manufacturing is basically being rewritten as we speak. So the crucial point is, India isn't just planning for the future, they're actively securing major global partnerships right now. The sheer scale of these approved plants is staggering. You've got Tata Electronics partnering with Taiwan's PSMC for a 91,000 crore rupee fab. Micron is injecting over 22,000 crores in Gujarat. There's a joint venture between HCL and Foxconn in UP. These are not just memorandums of understanding on a piece of paper. These are active, multi-billion-dollar groundbreakings happening today. Which leads us nicely into part 4, a new global supply chain, decentralizing the future. When we synthesize these two distinct national policies, a really fascinating picture emerges. Placing the U.S. CHIPS Act side by side with the India Semiconductor Mission shows that the U.S. is focused heavily on reshoring legacy systems and protecting leading-edge manufacturing on American soil. India, on the other hand, is focused on building a rapid, ground-up ecosystem, leveraging its massive market to position itself as a global talent hub. You see, they aren't actually competing against each other. Instead, they're acting as parallel tracks, competing together against the fragility of a centralized global supply chain. And the global industry? They are entirely on board with this decentralized vision. The immense momentum behind events like Semicon India 2025 proves it. I mean, with over 300 exhibitors from 18 different countries and dedicated international pavilions from tech heavyweights like Japan, South Korea, and Singapore, it's clear proof of the industry's shift. The world wants decentralized, trusted global partnerships, and both the US and India are answering that call. Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought to end our explainer today. We are witnessing an unprecedented, synchronized injection of capital and political will across the globe. But as our reliance on things like AI, smart vehicles, and space exploration grows exponentially by the day, will these synchronized multi-billion-dollar investments across the US and India actually be enough to truly shield the world from the next great global tech shortage? It's really the multi-trillion-dollar question for our future. So keep your eyes on the chips, everyone. Thanks so much for learning with me today.